Hello everybody, this is Le Minimum Lovable Product. I am Marco Lanzi and I'm about to bring you behind the scenes of building digital experiences that people will love. In the episode of today, Bernardo Nunes, Head of Data Analytics for Chapman Freeborn, a world leader in air charting solution, is going to tell us how do you transform a regulated industry, what's the value of transparency in business, and how do you bring an entrepreneurship mindset in a B2B environment and create value. Let's welcome Bernardo. Welcome everyone to Le MLVP. We're here today with Bernardo Nunes. He's the head of analytics for Chapman Freeborn. So, hi Bernardo, if you want to introduce yourself.
Hi, Marco.
All good,
How
all
are you
good.
doing
All
today?
good, and
All
you?
well? Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the opportunity to participate in your recently created podcast. So I'm now head of analytics in Chapman Freeborn. This is a passion I have for many years to embrace the digital roles in a big company. Actually, my first background is finance. This is my degree. All my life I spent in supply chain and logistics, transportation, road freight, sea freight, recently air freight, and now I'm trying to transform a little bit the air freight industry through the digital opportunities that we all face.
Oh no, that's awesome. Like I see a lot of experience in the supply chain, which is really like a critical topic in, especially if you look about e-commerce on the transformation business. Like a lot of companies are working into that space. Is not an easy one to, I think, to tackle and transform. So I think one of the things will be really interesting to know is when you look in like regulated industry, like the aviation one, like how do you tackle the digital transformation in there?
Um, Actually, there is a huge opportunity, specifically because it's such a regulated industry for so many years. Um, there weren't so many challenges in the past. Maybe in the passenger area, the development has been faster, but in the cargo area, what we find is that only since maybe 4, 5, 6 years ago, things has really started to change because everything was so regulated and so standardized that there was no real need to be so much fast to invest so much in the time to market. And today, the freight forwarders and all the agents in this industry, they demand more and more and more. So the old way of working became really not useful. So this was together with the COVID, because many organizations, they speed up the transformation process due to the critical situation that we faced with COVID. This was a driver for the industry. There are innumerous opportunities to transform, to optimize. Um, the one thing I find challenging now is that everybody talks about this transformation in the airline industry, but you need to find the purpose. And the purpose has to be always the customers. We cannot do just transformation projects just because it's sexy at the moment to do these things. We must find the company purpose. And before starting these projects, we need to assess how ready the company itself it is for this transformation. The things I face more often in the experience I've had is that some of the organizations, they are still quite conservative, and our role as digital transformers, if I may say the word, is to show the value of what we are planning to do. Normally, the approach I take is to build a very quick prototype of what we can do. Of course, it will fail a lot because it's, of course, a prototype, but yeah, but you don't go with your empty hands and with your magical ideas. You show immediately something. For example, here at Chapman, 1 month after we arrived, the new analytics team, we had already a prototype of our dashboards, and everybody was more receptive to to embrace this change due to the fact that they could see something real, something that they see the value for the business on a daily basis.
Completely agree with you. I think the moment you have something to show and something to touch, you really change the perspective also of the senior leadership to be able to really have that push that really can make the change happen. But I think one point that you touch base on, it's really let's say a really key one is like you said, we don't need to transform for just per se. We need to transform into something. So if you look in transform into something, I think it's really true because everyone is saying digital in all of the spaces, just transform. When you're changing and you're looking for an objective, like to something new, I think like data are probably the, let's say, the key North Star to follow and understand where to go. How do you identify early on which is the direction and where the target to go? Is that coming from data in your experience? Is that coming more from a vision, coming from the leadership, a mix of the two? How do you juggle these two aspects?
When you are lucky enough to be challenged by your top management, things become much easier, because there is a clear direction on what the company wants to follow. But to get there, the most relevant thing, I think, it's the opportunity that we have with the data to join multiple sources of data, so that we don't look only inside, because many projects we do KPIs for our past, we tackle our sales, we track our customers, but we forget to integrate other sources of knowledge, market knowledge, market performance, market growth. Because I might be growing 10% in my business, but if the market is growing 50, I'm not doing a great job. So this is the additional challenge, is to integrate multiple sources of data, so that you can compare yourself with the market, with your peers, with your competitors, and see how really well you are doing or not, and not just looking inside
Oh,
your
makes a lot of
organization.
sense. I think that's a really key point because, especially if you are changing your business somehow, I think just relying on your old KPI, is it really valuable? Maybe you are tracking something different, or maybe your old KPIs are not the good KPIs anymore. So I think this is a really good point. How do you guys do that?
But this can come in different ways. I give you an example. One of the organizations I worked in the past, when I arrived, I saw it was in supply chain, so the service level, it was 98 or 97%, meaning that everything that we were asked to deliver, 97, 98%, we were doing on time. And I said, this is strange, because this is much higher than the industry. So the thing that I found is that we were not considering the request from the customer, only what the organization was requesting to the 3PL, to the transportation company, was being measured. And of course, they were doing that very well. But for me, that can be important. But most important is to be customer centric, is to see the data, to see the performance from the customer perspective. Because this is what will make me succeed, or just be, happy with myself, but not really performing in a
Okay,
high
no,
level.
100% on that. Not even a 98, maybe 120, because I think ultimately, if we look into transformation, probably if I hear what you're saying is getting like a broader perspective of what's the direction and ultimately who is your customer that you're serving and how well you're serving your customer is really what you need to look into improving and transforming. Because otherwise, if you keep on relying on your KPIs that maybe are not tracking the proper customer perception of what's going and experience of what's going on in the business, then what are you transforming to?
Yeah, and this can be more challenging than what we think, because if we take, for example, the airline business, who would you say are our customers? The freight forwarders. Everyone will answer the freight forwarders. But I don't agree with that, because the freight forwarders by themselves, they don't have cargo. They have the shippers. These are my real customers. Or I may even call them my consumers. They are the ones who consume my service. So I cannot stop my analysis in my freight forwarders. If I may, I have to extend them to my shippers and understand if they are happy or not. We need to establish this relation between the one that is really providing the service and the one that is paying for
Okay,
it.
so if I hear what you're saying, and it's like even if you're looking into B2B, like you guys are doing, when you're just doing like one part of the overall end to end, you should maybe have a higher step or a step back to understand how your impacts impact the end to end and really understand if I look at my
Absolutely.
final customer, that might be the customer of my customer, how am I impacting him into that area? I think that this is something that is really great. I think
Absolutely.
we see it in, let's say, we see it in the retail business. I think in the B2B there are probably even more area of unexploited potential to really understand how a consumer interacts overall with something which is a B2B company, but it would probably never going to be heard of it because you are something in between. But are you providing a real value for the final customer is ultimately what then make you a successful company or not. So that,
Absolutely. We focus a lot on vertical markets because sometimes the freight forwarder, they are the same, but they are serving really different needs from different customers. And if you want to be centric, if you want to become really relevant, you have to show them what is the value you are creating specifically for them, and this can be measured. A shipper that is shipping fruit or perishables has one type of needs. A shipper that is dealing with horses, which is something that we do, has a totally different need, and the same KPIs cannot be used for managing this business. Of course, if we look at sales, money is money. More 20% of money is more 20% of money everywhere. But we need to go deeper. We need to be meaningful and provide the organization with the proper insights that each type of business is requiring. About technology, about the process, about developing. If you hire someone, he will be a competent person and he will do whatever you ask technically. The thing here is to listen to the business, listen to the market, listen to the consumers, to see if what you are doing is really meaningful for that
yeah,
for
no, I
that
think
purpose.
listening to the customers really, as you were pointing out, identifying who is your real customer at the end to end, who is really benefiting from your services. If it is maybe one, two, or even three layers down from what you're doing, I think that is really great. And well, let's say when we were chatting, like we were talking about you were talking about entrepreneurial mindset. How do you actually apply that into a B2B environment where you are not in touch with the final customer? You want to listen to what actually the final customer, two, three levels down, is actually needing. How do you combine that to then serve them and really become a better company or a better service?
So there is a pre-made sentence that we listen a lot of times, that you have to think out of the box and you have to go out of your industry. Because if you look just for your industry, most probably you will be doing more or less the same. So you have to go out, look at other industries. How are they approaching the challenges that they have? How are they competing to be better? And some ideas, they may be brought to the airline business or any other business, because um, everything is running through the same principles. You need to be relevant. You need to be agile. You don't need to look for the perfect and last ultimate solution. You need to provide something and be agile and learn on the way. For example, We have created in the past in another organization that I worked a door-to-door service combining the motorcycle deliveries that are in the market, the common platforms, together with flight services. This is something that you can say, but this guy is what is and the product worked and it was successful because we created additional value on the speed. If you need to do something fast, you just pick the phone, you ask for a pickup, you deliver in the cargo terminal, and it will fly in the same day for the destination. And at the destination, you have the same
Okay,
setup.
so let me hear if I understand correctly this example. Like what you, for example, you said like, hey, we leverage to innovate in there. Like door to door service was, I order a motorbike. There is someone that need to deliver me a motorbike, and actually you guys combine the coordinated supply chain to fly the motorbike to me.
No, they pick up by
Ah,
motorcycle.
ah,
These guys that I don't want to say the names. I don't know if
okay,
I'm supposed to say the organizational names like Glovo or
okay,
Uber
like the
or this kind
the taxi
of
moto in
people. They
Paris
pick up
that you get to the airport and
absolutely,
they pick you
absolutely,
and drive you there.
absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely, absolutely. So we combine and you sell it. This is something disruptive. Or in other situation, you don't find the capacity and you see your customer that is very big and that has a big operation, and normally you are selling air freight, but because you are not truly global organization and this customer of yours is really global, you buy space from them and you fix problem to another customer by buying from your customer. This is something that can be tricky. You are buying and selling to the same guy, but it works. So this is what I say, you have to think out of the box, and then you have to make it available in a seamless way. You don't need to make it very complex. One of the things we transformed was the way we did pricing. Historically, in the airlines, to calculate price is very complex. Why? It only makes it more difficult. So you have to make it easy, you have to make it dynamic so that you do the business faster. Your added value cannot be that I'm the only one who knows how to calculate the price. No, this is not added value. This is just making it somehow
Okay, so when you're
complicated.
saying, for example, let's say copying and transferring actually knowledge and value to the airline businesses, I think simplification, because I think like calculation of prices, I just can imagine when that wheel is rotating forever and spinning forever to get some data. So in this case, what you're saying is like example could be simplifying the business, maybe mimicking what other business already did, already went through in their evolution, or like replicating real services, like buying and selling from the same customer. It's something that happen in let's say in some of the industries. Like the logistic is something probably quite new.
Absolutely. Yeah. And additionally, there are things that you need to be transparent. The business of secrecy it's over. Everyone knows everything today, so you need to give the access to what you sell to your customers. This is why we have implemented a couple of digital platforms that the customers can come and book directly, and they see the prices, they see the available capacity, they see the products we sell. This comes with a very high responsibility because we implemented APIs and automatic way to connect to our systems. So you really have to have your homework well done in terms of the data that you make available in these systems. Is not just the implementation, is how ready you are to embrace this transformation, your organization. And then when you start, how you keep the pace to all the changes that will occur. Is your organization, is your team ready? Do they understand the value of having this open digital door to the market? How do you balance this with your traditional customers? how you make them understand that they can also benefit from this. These are all challenges that before starting a project, you need to think about how you are going to
Yeah,
address them.
no, I think that's super true. And I think the point on transparency, ultimately, if your customer comes to you and understand how your business work, they understand also what's the value you're giving to them. Because like, hey, I'm paying you to provide, to give me, bring me from A to B, provide me these kind of services, and I know what you're doing. And if people understand the business, usually they're also willing to pay for it, superior service, different features, or like different services like the one you were mentioning, which I think it's really, really, really true. So no, that's really a lot of great stuff. I think the question will be, how do you achieve those? Do you have some example like of where you guys achieve those?
Um, I'm not in a position to say names to share absolutely, but when you work in the basis of being secret what you have, because everyone is in the market to make money, and we accept this. We accept this. So we cannot live based on the on how we did in the past, based on loyalty, because oh no, I have to keep this customer loyal, so I give them a little bit more rebate so he keeps loyal. No, we need to be relevant. I need to be unique. One time I had a discussion with a guy that was the manager of a famous comic group, and I said, how do you manage this all these egos? How do you tackle this? And because they were all men, he said, I must be the most nice girl in the ball. While I'm the nicest, they will pay attention to me. And in business is the same. We need to be relevant. We cannot say, no, you need to be loyal. No, I need to challenge myself every day to be relevant. Relevant means to be more flexible, to be more available, to know more about my customer business, so that even before he asks me for something, I know he needs. If you are a big chain that has a lot of shops that is shipping the things in boxes, I must worry how I treat your boxes. How do I measure on a digital way if I'm throwing away the boxes or handling them with care? I have the IoT devices that I can put in the boxes, and I can prove transparently to my customer this. No, I handle 100% of your boxes in the good way, but I don't send him a report. I give him access for him to check this by himself in the middle of the night, whatever. And this is how you build the trust and the transparency. Tomorrow you tell him, I need to increase your prices, and he will believe you.
No, I think this is really great, and thanks a lot for the example, because I think it really helps to contextualize. So I think it's been like really great, and thanks a lot for all the sharing, Bernardo. I think we are almost up at time. I'll definitely love to get this conversation then ongoing, maybe in another episode together with you. And when we get the question also from the listener, maybe we understand like what they want to know more. But I think the point you touch on, like,
It's my pleasure to be available to answer and to provide any guidance to whoever needs
okay,
any
so
type of support.
thanks a
My
lot, because I
pleasure.
think with all your transparencies and example, you really gave like real firsthand, like what you think a great business should be, and I 100% with you on that. So I thank you again, and hopefully I'll speak you
Thank you very
soon.
much.
So thanks everyone,
We
and I'll
will,
see you
for
on the
sure.
next episode. Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you're keen to leave a review or subscribe, it helps more than you know. I hope to see you soon in the next episode. Stay tuned.